So at this point, whether you learn to say no more often, just learning to say yes on our terms, or it's time to release yourself from the burden of pleasing others, or constantly being that person who's indispensable to everybody else, give yourself time and freedom to be and do what matters to you and no one else. The social distancing is important, on or offline, whether anybody else likes it or not. You are your first priority. Your mental health is your own priority, no one else's, and you have to learn to take priority and take stock of that, of energy depleters, energy zappers, or people who are willing to go take you to the brink of insanity, and you're at the point of Mortal Kombat. Finish them.
Finish him.
So at that point, by that time, animosity is all-time high, and you're just at the point of, I need for someone to leave me alone, stop it, and you're just really, you can no longer tolerate them, and it just gets to that whole epic level of you need for them to stop intervening in everything that you're trying to do. You will literally need to have them step away from you, stop causing levels of distraction, stop causing levels of upset, and you have to tell them no. And you have to tell them to back off. Then, when is it okay to say no? You have to identify when you must absolutely say no, when you're stressed or overwhelmed, or they're causing levels of stress, when they're causing levels of distraction, when they're causing levels of upset, when they're causing levels of doing too much, and when you're sick and tired, or when you're sick and tired of them. That's when you have to social distance from them. Then on top of that, you have to remember, you always have a right to say no. You also have to say, whether you're learning to say no more often, or just learn to say yes on the terms that are going to give you time and freedom to back off, or tell them to back off. Then from there, you also have to say, when is it time to know when it's someone else's issue, when it's something you don't want to do, or when it's something that you don't want them to do, or when you have to say you're crossing boundaries or you're crossing lines. Then on top of that, you need to know when you need or deserve some time to yourself. Then you have to say what currently stops me from saying no to these things, or when you have to tell them that they're crossing lines and boundaries, or it's causing levels and depths of them crossing boundaries that are causing levels that you need to distance yourself from them. And then there's always two words that will always lead you to success. Those words are yes and no. Undoubtedly, you have mastered saying yes, so start practicing saying no. Your goals depend on that. And that is from Jack Canfield. So then on top of that, understanding a yes trap. Why do you say yes when you'd rather be saying no? How do you feel you benefit from saying yes? Understanding this is essential to saying no and valuing your own goals. Then on top of that, identify this. When I say yes, I feel. When I say yes, I want other people to think I am. Then here's an example. Maybe you want people to like you, think you are reliable, hard worker, and helpful, or to make yourself indispensable. By doing this, make sure you're not making yourself so overly indispensable that you're becoming too far stretched thin. Then from there, you have to say to yourself, when I say no, do I feel this? When I say no, I worry about other people thinking that I am what? Then fill in that space. Then from there, when I said no, I could say yes to these things in my life. Then from there, what could I make room for that I truly think are important to myself? So from there, you need to be able to outline all of these different things. Lastly, when I say yes, but I really want to say no, I feel what? Identify all of these things. Write those things down. And here's some things in identifying that. Some saying no thoughts, managing the guilt. And we're going to go over this in depth. The reason why is that managing guilt, as you learn to say no more, you'll probably feel your guilt. Okay? Assuming that it's not genuine guilt that requires remedial action from you, congratulations on this part. The reason why I'm congratulating you is that this guilt is a sign that you're making important positive changes in your life. So importance of this situation, people affected that's going on in your life at that time, that person asking you your history with them, etc. Because most people will make you feel guilty for saying no. And in that, write down at that moment who's making you feel guilty. Are they making you feel guilty for saying no because they're always used to you saying yes? Or are they making you feel guilty because you're always feeling obligated to say yes to them? because you need to discern whether or not you're always obligated to them out of just always saying yes to them, or you're afraid to say no to them. Because if you can identify the difference between the two, you'll know that you're okay saying no to them, and they're not going to guilt complex you or guilt trip you in that. That is mind games. And you need to be able to discern that. And the spirit of discernment is whether they have a problem with you saying no. Changing gradually is just fine. If in the past you've been a yes person, you may want to gradually become a person that says no. Take your time and practice small things, working up to larger no's. Soften the blow. If you do decide to go all out with your no's, remember that others may find this a bit of a shock. It may help, although it no means necessary, to find your own way to soften it for them. Because a lot of people who may be used to you saying yes will actually start getting mad. Start writing it down yet again. Start writing down those who have a problem with the punch of that. Because there are some people who are going to have to be taken down like a machine gun with your no, because they're going to fight you tooth and nail with it. Those are the ones that it's going to go down like they're going to act like it's a whole funeral procession with it, and go down kicking and screaming and act like you tried to kill them. And you're literally going to have to play the whole military taps for them, and literally they're going to be crying and everything else, and you're going to be sitting up there looking at them like, oh my God, suck it up, buttercup. So by the time it's all said and done, you're going to have to pour him a drink and be like, I'm sorry, but no. So by the time you have a whole headache from them doing all the whining, screaming, and hollering because you said no. So with that, you've softened the blow, you've practiced everything else. Try imagining you're someone who's already comfortable saying no, and mentally rehearse difficult situations. So we've gone through the whole Rocky Balboa. You've given them a whole machine gun, the whole punches that you've done. You've delivered them the tap session. You've gone through the screaming matches, the whole theatrics they've done. We've gone through the whole processional. We've given them a whole fanfare, everything you can possibly to soften the blows and everything else. So we've gone through all that. So now you're getting to feeling good about saying no. You're giving them right answers and everything else that's feel good procession of everything else. So they should be pretty good at you understanding them saying and them hearing the word no from you. So from there, say it pleasantly, assertively, and with conviction. It leaves you feeling good and strong in yourself. And even if there's some guilt, then you're made the right choice for you. So in that, at this point, in the specific areas of situations in your life, I need to be saying no more. You've identified all of those, your new beliefs of saying no, and then the techniques that you can see yourself using are what? Identify all of those, and then from there, you should have your saying no plan all the way down. You have your action steps. When I say no, ask yourself, when will I do this? And then on top of that, copy these out on a Post-it note and continue to practice this over time. So it takes 21 days to start a habit and lifetime to undo it. So you should be very familiar and comfortable with this. Then on top of that, tell the truth. Always find a way to be truthful in that. Timing is everything. And then on top of that, make a simple plan. Buy yourself enough time. Defer the feelings of guilt. Then sometimes at night, sit down and piece together and write down when you're feeling guilty. Start undoing that. Then on top of that, transfer that guilt and start rewarding yourself when you feel guilty, and start patting yourself on the back. Then from there, request yourself as a priority in saying no. Then on top of that, prioritize yourself at the top of that. And then say to yourself, I'd love to help, but I'm going to do this. And then after that, close it out with saying, I'm proud of myself for saying no. So now we went through the whole mantra of how to post-COVID say no. And then also on top of that, being mindful of your self-care and taking care of yourself and learning to put yourself first. So now we went through the sessions of how to say no. So I'm going to take you out of here with some good music. And then from there, thank you for attending the Team World, destination motivation. Get up, get out, do something. Don't let the world pass you by. Thank you for attending.